Natural radioactivity is all around us. It's in the rocks and soil. It's in the air we breathe. These natural sources give off radiation in the form of alpha particles, which only travel a few centimeters, beta particles or electrons, which travel several meters, and gamma waves, which have a virtually unlimited range, though at greatly reduced energy with distance. We are also being bombarded with showers of particles from space in the form of cosmic rays. The good news is that these natural sources do not appear to pose a danger to human health. We're exposed to man-made sources of radiation as well from time to time, mostly in the form of X-rays from medical scans. Other types of radiation treatment, especially for cancer, may involve gamma waves and protons. But what about dangerous, uncontrollable sources of radioactivity? Though exceedingly rare, high levels of radiation can occur from nuclear accidents at power plants or from terrorist attacks that are designed to spread radioactive isotopes in order to expose people or poison them. The threat from nuclear weapons is, of course, the greatest danger, and it continues to menace us from time to time, especially from authoritarian regimes such as China, North Korea, Iran, and even Russia. For the non-specialist, there are few options for monitoring radioactivity in your immediate environment. Traditional Geiger counters are excellent tools for locating radioactive sources, but they are inaccurate and often misleading in quantifying the amount of radioactive energy you are exposed to, your radiation dose. The device you need, which is used by professionals who deal with radiological hazards, is called a scintillation detector. But these detectors range from $700 to thousands of dollars, that is, until now. A small startup company called Better Geiger has developed a basic scintillation detector for around $150. If I could recommend a single device for monitoring the level of radioactivity in your environment, this would be it. The Better Geiger S-1 is a simple-to-use unit, independently designed from the ground up by a nuclear engineer. There is no other device in this price range that can measure your exposure to X-ray and gamma-ray energy. Whereas alpha and beta radiation typically pose little or no threat, X-rays and gamma rays are the primary sources of danger to human health, which is why they are carefully monitored by professionals. Despite its price, the Better Geiger S-1 has a solid, ergonomic build typically found in much more expensive devices. The unit comes with a rubber shock protector you could attach to your belt. There's also an optional waterproof case lined with durable foam to hold the detector in place. The clear cover allows you to see the readout when the case is shut. The S-1 measures radioactive energy using two common units, the microsievert and the millirem. To understand these numbers and their corresponding radiological hazard levels, refer to the table on the Better Geiger website. The detector also counts individual radioactive emissions in CPM, that is, counts per minute, just like a traditional Geiger counter. Let's take a closer look at the S-1's display. As mentioned before, the S-1 displays in microsieverts, millirems, and counts per minute. At the top of each of those displays is a bar, and that bar represents the instantaneous number of microsieverts per hour being registered, as you see here. And that bar stretches from 0 to 10 microsieverts per hour. Now here's the full bar graph with the calibration marked here. This top bar is what you saw at the top of each display. Once the top bar fills up, we are up to 10 microsieverts per hour. And that is the extent or the limit of the high range. The danger range is marked down here. And that goes all the way from 10 to 10,000 microsieverts per hour. Some of the most important information is contained on this display. Since the time the unit powered up, 2,016 seconds have elapsed. The average CPM, 213. The average microsieverts per hour is 0.377. And the total number of microsieverts absorbed is 0.213. By keeping track of the accumulated dose over time, which is this last number, the S1 functions as a true dosimeter, not simply a radiation detector. The S1 will register the harmless background radiation in your environment, which is given off by rocks, soil, and even the building materials and items in your house. If you want a more vigorous source to test the unit, you can purchase this check source from Better Geiger. The check source affords us an opportunity to compare the performance of the S1 against a standard Geiger counter in measuring X-rays and gamma rays, which are the most dangerous type of radiation to human health. The source is very thin, as you can see, so the X-ray and gamma radiation should be about the same from front to back because the rays are very penetrating and easily go through this type of material. However, this is also a strong beta source, and the Geiger counter is very sensitive to beta, so each particle that enters the Geiger counter is counted as a gamma ray, whereas the S1 is far less sensitive to beta radiation, though not totally insensitive. So let's take a look. The front side of the source is very active, as you can see. Now, if I allow this to run, it will go up to approximately 10,500 CPM, counts per minute. The back side of the source, however, is fairly inactive. I'll reset our count here. And that usually weighs in around 600 counts per minute. Now let's take a look at the S1. We place our source on the S1. That is the front side of the source. The Geiger counter registered about 10,500 CPM, and the S1 will register around 1,000 once it reaches the full count. So we're going to flip that over, and here is the back of the source, and that will register approximately 600 to 700 counts per minute. As you can see, it's going down. All right, so let's take a look at some numbers here. We'll begin with the Geiger counter, which is the RM80. This is an excellent Geiger counter, by the way. It's unfortunate they don't manufacture these anymore. The front of the source measures 10,500 CPM, and from that, the Geiger counter calculates the energy at a whopping 29.6 microsieverts per hour. The back of the source measures 600 CPM, and from that, the Geiger counter calculates an energy of 1.7 microsieverts per hour. However, this is inflated, the 600 CPM and the 1.7. How do we know? Well, when we place a thin piece of aluminum, less than 1 millimeter thick, between the source and the Geiger counter, the CPM drops by about 40%. When we perform the same test on the S1, the count only drops, the CPM only drops about 5%. So the Geiger counter is inflating the numbers here, again, due to the sensitivity to beta particles. The Geiger counter calculates, it does not actually measure gamma and X-ray radiation, by simply multiplying the CPM times a certain amount of energy, and that amount of energy was determined when it was calibrated to the cesium-137 source, which has a characteristic energy of about 662 kiloelectron volts. So each count, each CPM on the Geiger counter is tallied at that energy. It's not actually measuring energy, it's only estimating energy. There are, of course, hundreds of radioactive isotopes, and they all emit gamma rays and X-rays with different energies. So the Geiger counter is not really capable of measuring actual energy, whereas the S-1 with the scintillation detector can measure the actual intensity of each burst of gamma rays. Okay, let's take a look at the S-1. The front, the source measures 1000 CPM, and the energy is measured at 1.395 microsieverts per hour. Now notice the difference between the S-1 energy measurement and the Geiger counter's energy calculation. There is a 21-fold difference between the two. The Geiger counter is grossly overestimating energy due to sensitivity to beta. On the back side, the S-1 is measuring about 598 CPM, so it's very comparable to the Geiger counter in CPM. The energy measurement, however, is less. It's only 0.818 microsieverts per hour, which is about half of what the Geiger counter is calculating. Now remember that we said the source should be about the same in terms of gamma and X-ray energy from front to back. But take a look at this. From the front to the back on the Geiger counter, there is a 17-fold difference in energy, again due to the inflation of the count from beta particles. On the S1, however, the difference from front to back is only about 1.7-fold. So clearly the S1 is a better option for measuring X-ray and gamma ray energy. In order to make the Better Geiger S-1 affordable, many of the whistles and bells found on more costly detectors are absent. It does not have an alarm for hazardous levels, though the readout does indicate normal, high, and danger. There is no Wi-Fi connection or USB port to connect to your computer. It does not come with software. It does not graph history. In fact, there isn't even a battery indicator. This is a simple, standalone unit, but it has what counts the most. The scintillation crystal at the heart of this detector is a technology found only in units several times the price. The S1 calculates dose rate to an accuracy of plus or minus 30% in normal operating range. To achieve a higher accuracy of 15%, you would need to spend more than 4 times as much on another unit. The S1 has an extended range of 20,000 microsieverts per hour or 2,000 millirems per hour, which is thousands of times higher than background radiation. Though this is well below the energy levels that could occur during a radiological accident or attack, the range of the S1 is sufficient to warn you of dangerous levels of radiation. All in all, this detector and dosimeter by Better Geiger is a worthwhile investment in your education and safety.